Okay, cool. So it's recording. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. Thanks, everyone, for the contributions you've made to this cause. And hopefully we all learned something new today, that is creating online interactive web-based maps with CARTO Builder as one of the powerful commercial online tools available. So let me share with you. I'm going to share with you in the chat. Let me share one file with you before I let me go to the chat. Maybe I can attach something in the chat box. So I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide that I put together over the last few days. Beginner level, yes, open. Okay, I'm attaching it to the chat box. Give me a second. It's uploading itself. Okay, so it's sending now. It should be there in a sec. You should be able to see it in a second. Okay, cool. So you now see a online hands-on CARTO Builder workshop beginner level .pdf in the chat box. Go ahead and download that. We're going to follow that step by step. Let me also open it on my computer so you'd be able to see. I'll share my screen as well in a second. Let me open that file and then I'll share my screen. So go ahead and download that file from the chat box. And I'm going to share my screen as well. Okay. Share my screen desktop. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now. So this is the PDF I put together for today, which gives you a step-by-step guide on how to build a very simple web-based interactive map in CARTO Builder. So CARTO is actually, if I go to the website, I don't know whether you had a chance to explore CARTO. So it's carto.com. It's a commercial available online tool that is very actually popular between data visualists and scientists and whoever wants to do a spatial data analysis and visualization. Many big companies use that, like you see DHL, MasterCard, Bloomberg, are all their clients. And it's very big. It's huge. I'm not even an expert in all of it, okay? I only know bits and pieces over like here and there. And that's what I'll try to transfer to you today and in future workshops. But what we're going to work today with is specifically CARTO. It's one tool in CARTO, and that is CARTO Builder. If I get to it right, yes. So it's that carto.com builder. And let me see if this is getting recorded correctly. Everything's right? I mean,
a lot of people are saying that they can't download the document.
Oh, okay.
Open it online.
People can't download it. Okay, sure. I can. Let me see what the problem is here. I can maybe.
The problem seems to be getting access to the UNSW SharePoint site.
Oh, is it? Let me see if I can change the. It doesn't. It shouldn't be. Okay, I can actually email it to you from. Give me a second. I stop sharing my screen. I'll go and email it directly to everyone through the eventbrite.com website. Give me a second. I'll quickly do that for you. I'm trying to get everyone's email, and then I'll email it right away. Okay, I have everyone's email here. And let me actually email it as BCC. So if you don't want to see any other, you don't want your email to be shared. So online data visualization workshop guide. Okay, I'm gonna attach it, and you'll be able to see it in a minute. Okay, it's attaching to the email. Okay, I just emailed it to everyone, so hopefully in a minute you'll be able, in a second or in a minute, you'll be able to see it in your inbox. The same email that you signed up with in this workshop. Excellent. Cool, good. So you'll have it in your email. Some people already have seen it in the email. Excellent, good. So let me get back to my screen sharing, and I'll get back to what I was trying to do before. Okay, so if you download that PDF that I just emailed you, it looks something like this. It has 14 pages, and I was talking that I was introducing CARTO Builder as a very easy tool. It's a drag and drop analysis tool to visualize maps and data, and basically anything you want to, any spatial data you have. So if I go back to this, so I try not to refer much. I mean, you can follow the PDF if you feel that you're falling behind, okay? But I try to go on the fly, so I don't go back and forth between the my web browser and the PDF. Anyways, so let's get started with opening a CARTO Builder account if you don't have it already. So I go to CARTO Builder carto.com/builder. Just create an account for yourself. It's easy to do. I already have my account, so I just go to my dashboard. So I give you a minute if you haven't signed up before. Go ahead and create an account for yourself. And you should be able to see something like this that I put, this a snapshot that I put in the PDF that says, hello, blah, blah. And you'll be able to see maps and data, and you'll be able to upload your data sets that you want to start working with. So I give you a minute or two to set that up. Okay. Again, if you haven't received that PDF yet, I mean, don't worry about it. You'll be able to see it in a minute or two. There might be delays in sending the emails. Just go ahead and create the account. Meanwhile, go to carto.com/builder and create an account for yourself. It's easy, but hopefully by the time you finish signing up, you'll be able to see the email. Let me also resend that. I can resend it with my Gmail. It might be sometime the UNSW server emails that I resend it again just in case if something's wrong with the UNSW servers. Okay, so I resent it with my Gmail account, so hopefully you'll be able to see that Gmail tends to be a little bit faster than UNSW servers. Excellent, cool. Some people are already getting it. Okay, so go ahead to carto.com/builder, open an account, and so I'll try to be, if you have any question or if you want to stop me, I mean, just raise your hand or unmute yourself and talk. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna I'll try to, there used to be somewhere that we could ask for a poll, or that was somewhere else. I won't try to. No, it doesn't allow me to ask a poll here. But anyways, can you confirm if you've created the account? If most of you have successfully created the account, I can continue. Okay, good. So I'll see many of you have created the account. That's good. Thank you very much for that. So the first thing we want to do, if we go back to the PDF, I said I don't want to go back and forth between them, but I'm doing it. Is so after you create an account, we'll want to upload our first data set, which I chose the international ports all around the world. And you can download the data by clicking on this Google Drive link. It gives you a CSV file. So if I click on it, you should be able to see the data set. So go ahead and download this world ports data. And then we'll explore it in a second, okay? I'll go to my download page. Okay. So this is the file. It's CARTO world ports.csv. So you can download it from the link in the guideline. And we're going to work with this file, okay? But before we get started, until people are downloading this, okay.
Hi.
Yes.
I have not got that PDF file, so if you
Sure.
can.
I can do that quickly. Yes, I'll do it now. I'll share the link here. There you go. Okay, people already shared it. Yes, Chris, I could ask you to create that, but I wanted everything to be done in the workshop. So if people have problems creating the account or people have problems downloading the file, I could help them here. But anyways, so if you download the CSV file, you'll see something like this where we have.
Sorry, mate.
Yes.
It seems I'm not a member here and cannot do anything at all.
What do you mean?
Can you please check the Eventbrite that I'm actually included in the list? And I did not receive your email either.
Okay, but I can. If you've signed up in the if you've signed up on Eventbrite correctly with the
yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I got the account. I got the receipt and everything.
Okay. What's your name? Who are you? Sorry,
Pradeep Ray.
Pradeep. Okay. Let me check. I can send you. I see. Okay, good. I'm gonna email you now.
Thanks.
I'm gonna email you individually.
And also, can you let me get into the chat, because it says only team members can chat.
Really?
Ask the owner to make you
I see a lot of people chatting, so I'm not sure why.
Maybe for some reason, maybe my name was missed in your file or whatever?
No, it's not related to that. So I'm not sure why you can't chat, but that's okay. You can talk. So
Thanks. Okay.
yeah. So I sent you the PDF, so you should be able to download it fine. Anyways, let me continue. As I said before, if anyone has any problem, and if you wasn't able to follow that PDF that I sent you is sufficient for you to follow and create the map. But just watch and see how I'm doing it, and then I'll have an exercise at the end as well. But before we continue, so after you download the CSV format, but what kind of format, what data formats you can work in CARTO with? There are a range of different data formats that you can work with. The traditional GIS files, like it's called shapefile. If you're familiar with GIS, we work with shapefiles in GIS that can be opened up in CARTO. KML and KMZ are Google Maps and Google Earth files that can also be opened up in CARTO. GeoJSON is the newer versions of like a spatial data, CSV, Excel file, OpenStreetMap, and a few other popular formats. So it basically covers the most popular spatial data formats that people work with these days. So I don't think if you'll have any problem in future trying to import something or export something into a specific format from CARTO. So let's get and create your first data set. So by uploading and drag and drop or drag and drop the port CSV file that you just downloaded into the creating the new data set in your CARTO account. So if I go back to my CARTO, so here is my data. I'm gonna create a new data set. I go to upload. I can either browse or drag and drop it. But let me go to my downloads, CARTO open. So you can see the CSV file is now getting uploaded to my data.
Can I just quickly ask, on the very beginning screen, are we developing an interactive custom web map, or are we creating a web map from our browser?
I think you don't need to go there.
That's just what's opened.
Okay. Did you go to the data? Did you upload the data in the new data sets or?
Okay, I understand where I am. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, that's okay. So if you click on the data and if you click on new data set, you'll be able to just upload the CSV file. So after it's uploaded, you'll be able to see something like this, which shows all the columns and all the rows in your data set. Again, let me see what I have here. Yeah, let me see if anyone's asking any question. No. So let's explore the data a little bit, and then we can continue with actually creating our first very easy map. So let's go back to my browser here. So CARTO adds a column, which is its unique CARTO ID. There is a geometry in this data set, basically the coordinate of the ports. There are some other numbers that I don't know what they are. I mean, like this index number or region number, it's probably something related to marine industry. The port name, it's something we'd like to show probably in the map. The country where the port belongs to, the latitude, longitude separately in two different columns. You can see the geometry is basically the same as the latitude, longitude. It's just, it's put together. So latitude and longitude is very important. That's the coordinate of the port we want to show, we want to use. Then it also has the coordinates in a different format, like the degree, minutes, etc., etc. Again, we don't need to worry about these. Let's move on and let's see what else we have in the data set. We have harbor size. Yep, that's something we would like probably to show on the map. You can see it says VSM. I figured that it's probably a small size, medium, large. V, I wasn't sure what it was. So let's say it's very small or very large. I don't know. Harbor type. Again, I'm not familiar with marine industry, so I really don't know what that letters mean. But again, it's only an example. Okay, so it's a type of the harbor. Okay. I mean, don't worry. I mean, we don't worry too much about what some of the details here are, because we're not. This is not probably the main discipline of anybody in this community that we are we've come together. Let's see what else we have here. There's something I wanted to show you, which is the tide range. Yes, so look, this is the tide range, and this is the tide range where the port is experiencing. And below every column, you can see it says number, a string, Boolean. So for example, if you go into, I don't know, let's say channel depth, you can change the data, any column you click, you can change the type of the data. You can either use number, a string, date, or Boolean, which is like true or false thing. I mean, this is important because, for example, later, because when you want to visualize, if you have a number, if you have a column that consists of numbers and you want to visualize it in a gradient type colors, you need to have numbers to be able to do that gradient color. But some other columns or variables you may have in your data is in a categorical format. Like you have different classes, you have different categories, just like what we had in terms of the, what was the column, like the harbor size. You see, harbor size is a string. So it's now in a categorical format. So if you want to visualize it, we visualize it differently than numbers, okay? So just bear that in mind, that numbers versus strings, we can visualize both, but they need to be identified correctly in CARTO to be able to do it later. CARTO automatically detects this, so you don't have to worry about it. It automatically detects what columns are string, what columns are numbers, but it's good to check before you visualize, okay? So it's good to check to make sure it's right. Otherwise, later you'll find a trouble visualizing any of these columns. Okay, one more thing I want to show you. Again, this is the basic one. This is the beginner way of looking at the data. But if you look on the bottom left corner, there is a control option that you can go between metadata and SQL. SQL, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with SQL, but SQL is a programming language for data sets. It's a structured query language. That is, SQL stands for structured query language. And you can actually code things here to change the data sets. You can add columns, you can create different variables from your column, from different columns. For example, if you want to multiply one column to another, if you want to sum one column to another, you can do it here by coding this. But again, this is a little bit advanced, so let's first not get deep into this. We'll cover that in a future workshop when in an advanced format, that you can actually code things here. But I just wanted to show you that you can code here behind your data set. Actually, in the PDF, I think I've put an example. So after you click on that SQL thing, go ahead and let's take this piece of code, this piece of SQL code from the PDF. What I'm doing in this code, it says I'm selecting only a few columns from this table. We had a lot of columns in this data set, right? And we don't need all of it, okay? So instead of going through it, I mean, this saves time if we just look at the columns that we are interested in. So let's paste the code that I put in the PDF. What it does, it takes the CARTODB ID column, it takes the geometry column. There is a column called geometry Mercator, the web Mercator. That's the column we really need to visualize. Port name I'm interested in, latitude, longitude, the coordinate I'm interested in, harbor size, harbor type, and tide range. These are the things I'm interested to visualize. So these are the columns I chose from the data. So I say select this from this table, which was, so I actually need to change, make sure that the name of the table is correct. I changed it to CARTO _ world ports MS. Okay, so make sure the name of the table is correctly specified, depending on what, I mean, my table is named here, your table, the name of your table might be slightly different, depending whether you renamed it or when you upload it, you put any specific name for it. So go ahead and make sure this name of the table is correct, and then we are ready to, you can click on apply. You see this apply here? You can create on apply, and let's see what happens. There you go. I now only see a smaller version of my table with the columns that I chose to see. So I only have CARTO-DB, the geometry, Mercator, port name, latitude, longitude, harbor size, harbor type, tide range, and the rest of the columns are hidden now. I don't see them. They're not removed. They are still in the original data set, but we don't see it here. Okay. So if you have managed to follow it up, can you confirm if everyone's good to continue? Have you managed to? You probably can hear my sons crying, right? Okay, cool. So good to see. Yes. Okay, cool. So now that we have now that we have the table ready, let's press on create map, and we'll be able to create our first map. Da-da, there you go. So you made your very first map. Again, it's not an ideal map if we're going to work on this map because that's just a basic map. You can see that we didn't even specify what we want to visualize. Again, CARTO is a little bit smart. It automatically detected the latitude and longitude in your data, and it uses that latitude longitude to visualize it. Yes, go ahead.
Right. How does it know which coordinate system the data's in?
I think you need to work. I mean, I think it automatically detects it, but it might be. It may face some problems with that. So if I go back to the data, let me go back to my data. The data. So you see the latitude, longitude, and I think this geometry, the web Mercator here, and again, latitude, longitude. I probably am not sure. We can look it up later, okay? Because I'm not sure. I don't want to say something that I'm not sure about. But from what I know, it automatically detects based on the latitude, longitude. But you're right. If you give a different coordinate system, how it handles it, I'm not quite sure. But we can look it up and we can talk later about it, okay? But for now, because we're using the global latitude and longitude coordinates, it doesn't have any problem to automatically detect it. We can later use. I mean, the example that I put at the end of the workshop, we use some data from Australia, so we can actually explore that question later as well at the end when we use some Australian coordinates. But that's how you create your first map, okay? But this is not ideal, right? Because it doesn't have many information in it. It only has the location of the ports. But we want to visualize more things. We want to visualize maybe the name. We want to visualize probably the tide range, so we can change the color of the points by the tide range. Or you can choose any other thing. For example, we could visualize the harbor type. So each harbor type could have a color or different size, and then we can visualize it like that. Let me go back to the chat box and see if someone has some problems. If you are having a trouble running that code, as I said before, you need to make sure the name of the table is consistent in the code with whatever your table, whatever the name of your table should be consistent with whatever it's in the code. So this is what you see now, right? So let's click on this layer. So you can see here we can add different layers. Imagine you had multiple data sources that you wanted to upload. You upload them separately, and then here we can add multiple layers. But here for now we're going to work with one single layer. So let's click on this single layer that we have, and we can see data. We can see different tabs like analysis, style, pop-up, legend. I'll go over all of them, okay? But let's start with the style. I think that's what I'm doing in the PDF file. Yes. So we're gonna edit this. We're gonna edit this map. So the first thing is about aggregation. How do you want to aggregate? How do you want to show? So here, because we are having point data, so again, we can easily go with the point aggregation because that it makes sense because we have point data. Let's explore what other options we had here. We could go by a square, click on the square. Maybe not a good option for this map because, I mean, this by squares aggregation is probably good for example, if you want to show like the density of, imagine you have a data set that has, I don't know, the location of people with a specific characteristics, okay? Not necessarily the location of the points. You could visualize it by this. I mean, this map still has some meaning in terms of when it comes to ports. It basically the larger, sorry, the darker the colors here is probably the higher density of the ports. But again, not a perfect ideal choice for what we want to visualize here. But for some data sets, it's good, but not maybe for this one. You could do, instead of a squares, you could do like something like hexagons, different polygons. If we had some polygons to show like states or boundaries or countries, you could go with this one, but that's not what, we don't have that information in the data. And we could also do animated. Again, let's not go into this. That's a little bit more advanced. So let's stick to the by aggregation by points, and we'll start to style our map. So we'll go with aggregation. In the style, here it says fixed, right? Let's click on by value because we want to show the point size. We want to change the point size by maybe tide range, right? So in the style, so aggregation is point, style, in the point size, we go by value, and then let's choose tide range. So I choose tide range, and there you go. Now the size of the points on the map has changed based on the tide range for each port. Again, CARTO automatically chooses a minimum and maximum size. So you can change this. For example, the maximum size I can change to, let's say if I change to 18, which is a big, you can see the maximum size of the points has increased. You can reduce the minimum one to 1, and then you'll be able to see that the ports with the smallest tide range will be very tiny in the map. But let's stick to whatever we had before. Was it like 0.11? Actually, it was 2 to 11. Look, you can also change the number of buckets or bins that CARTO creates. So let's choose, let's say 7. If you click on this 7 buckets next to it, those 3 dots, you can choose. So this is basically the number of bins you have. So for example, if I choose only 2 bins, I only have, look, I only have 2 kind of sizes. It's either 2 or 11. If I choose 5 buckets, it creates 5 points with different sizes. It can't go more than 7, which is probably a good thing. We don't want to have many different sizes showing in your map, but I mean, you could possibly. But anyways, you can change that, by the way, but that's a little bit more advanced. Let's just stick to whatever is available here now for now. So let's go with 7 buckets. You can also change the way CARTO creates different classes for the size of the points. You can go with quantiles, you can go with jenks, you can go with equal interval or heads and tails. But again, let's just stick to this quantiles. It's easy to go with this. So whatever we've done so far is we have the location of the ports mapped, and we are showing the size. The size of each point represents the tide range in each port. Okay. We can also change the point color. So let's add more information to this. Okay. Let's choose point color by value. We want to change the we want to change the color of the port by maybe port size. Okay. Remember, port size was a string variable. It was a categorical variable. It wasn't a continuous number. So that's why you don't see numbers to show here, and you can only choose different categories. Like, so if you click on this category, you can actually, let me choose a color, I don't know, whatever color you want. And there you go, look. So when you choose a color scheme in the point color option, you can see that the categories are automatically created. We had V, I mean, let's say that's very small. S is a small ports, M is medium size, and L is large points. And again, the data had some null value, so it creates some null, a color for null, but later you can remove them either from your data or from here. I talk about it later, but let's assume this is good enough for us. I mean, we don't worry about those null values here for now. So let's see what the map now shows us. Let me also change the maximum point size here to 15. I guess it makes it a little bit nicer. So we see more variation. I've lost all my points. So 2 to 15, maybe. Okay, let's do 11. I'm not sure why 15 doesn't work. Let's go 14. Let's go 16. Okay, that's good. So what we have now here is, as I said, we have the size of the points represent the tide range, and the color of the points represents the harbor size. You can change the stroke size here. For example, if you increase it, the boundary around you see there is a white boundary around each color that is changed. Again, these are some little details. You don't have to worry about it now, but later if you want to create improve the aesthetic version of aesthetic aspects of your map, you can play with those variables as well. The stroke color is the line around the circle. Blending, let's see what that blending is. So you see a lot of ports are superimposed. So we don't be able to see many of them because they're on top of each other. Either we have to zoom in to be able to see them better, but this blending is for the zoom level that you have some points on top of each other, and you want to decide how do you want to visualize them. Do you want to leave them to be overlapped with each other? Do you want to change the intensity of the color? How do you want to treat the blending of the points? So here you have multiple options. If you go with multiply, let's choose multiply. You see that the colors are intensified here. So you see where we have some points overlapped with each other, it basically multiply. I don't know why they choose multiply, but the term multiply, but it basically intensifies the color. You see, if we had a lot of purple points on top of each other, the color is now a dark purple, and if we had some more like green ports, it becomes like green dark. But go ahead and explore some other options you had here. For example, we had a screen. You can see what happens. Where the points are overlapped, it now turns into whites. I don't like it for this map. Maybe for some other maps it might be useful. But again, there are many different options. If I go with color burn, again, it also intensifies the color of the points that are overlapped. But again, either you can choose color burn for now or multiply or just none. Maybe none is okay for this one. If someone's interested to have a look at have a closer look at it in an area around the world, they can zoom in and see what's going on and what are the information on each port. So let me go back to my PDF. Someone's asking a question. The administrative region option is where you have different zones, for example, but in this data set, we do not have that. For example, if you had states, if you had countries, if you had regions, if you had counties in the US or city councils, but here we don't have that information. Okay, so here we only have point data sets. So that's why we go with aggregation of points. So going back to the PDF, we edited, and let's also add some labels. Yes, we have some labels here. So let's see what label options do we have here. If I click on this label, it allows me to show some labels on the points. So for example, if I choose maybe port name, right? Port name makes more sense. But if I choose port name, let's see what happens. Ooh, not a very good choice. Now my map is very messy, very busy. All the port names are visualized. So probably we should turn that off for now. and it might be good for some other data sets that you don't have a lot of points or a lot of regions next to each other. So if you want to just show the name of the areas or show some kind of labels on your data, if you don't have high density of points, it might be good or useful. But in this data set, in this map that we're creating, it's better probably to turn off this label. Okay. So this is the map for now. Let's go back to the PDF and let's see what else I'm going to show you here. We talked about point color, we talked about point size, we talked about labels. And let's also show you some advanced features. Again, we're not going to talk more about the advanced features. That's probably for another workshop. But let me show you this. So on the left, on the bottom left, see, there is a control option that shows you either you can choose values or CARTO CSS. So CSS is an HTML type format that you can actually code to change some of the settings of your map. Again, for those of you who are not familiar with CSS or HTML, you don't have to worry about this. You can go back to the values and you can continue with whatever is default, whatever is available as some default features that you can work with. In another workshop in a few weeks, I'll announce that I will try to go over some of these advanced features to see how we can actually code HTML, code CSS to change some of the features here. But for example, if I want to show you very quickly what can be done in this CSS code behind the settings that we've done so far. So it's in the values, CARTO CSS. So look, here is, you can change, for example, the range. You see, it says marker width, the size of the markers is reading the tide range column, and you can change the size of it from 2 to 16. So if I change this back to 2 to 11, and if I press apply, you can see I've changed my map. I can choose different colors. If I click on these color codes, these are the different categories that was selected for different harbor sizes. You see, we had V, we had S, we had M, L, right? So all of this different categories can be also edited in the code, okay? But don't worry about them now. Let's go back to whatever we had already in the original setup. So if you change something in the code, look, if I change something in the code and if I press apply, and if I go back to my, here is the back. If I go back to my original, if I go back to the values, you see there is a message here that comes up that it says CARTO CSS applied. You just applied a style with CARTO CSS. You can continue or clear. So this is now deactivated. Why? Because you changed the code. Because you can do a lot of things in the code that is not necessarily possible in this default setup. Okay, so that's why. So if you wanna get rid of this, you can either clear, and you can go back to whatever you've already changed in the default style control panel. How much time do we have? Okay, that's good. So that's about aggregation, right? So well done so far. You now have one of your very first maps, which actually looks very nice, right? So let's see what it'll, okay, any questions so far? We've talked about that. Okay, let's also add some legend. That's important, right? I can answer some questions later if you had something. Let's try to finish the guide first, and then we can spend some time answering some questions. So we're done with the style. You now have this. You now have this map. If I go to the legend tab, I can choose different legend types, right? I can choose a category legend, and a legend will show up here that shows you what color, what port size, what colors represent what port size, right? We can go with a custom legend. You can change this. For example, if I if I go very small, a small, medium, large, and for example, if you want to delete these two null values, you can delete it from the legend. So we have, and you can also change the title, right? Let's change, let's say by color. That's right. And so that was the color. That's the legend for the color, right? We chose different. I mean, we chose to show this one. And if I go with the size here, you see we had color and size, right? I can also put a legend for the size of the dots. And again, I can choose a title for it. I can choose I can actually choose tide range. I should probably put tide range here. And I can change the color of the, doesn't really matter, but I mean, you can change this to whatever color you want. And it also adds a tide range size, right? If I go back to the color, probably a better title would be here, I can say port size. So I have port size, I have tide range as added as my legend, right? So that's about adding a legend. Let's see, can you change the base map? Yes, we can change the base map as well. Yes, we can change the base map. If I go back to the, I'll show you where to change the base map. Okay, let's continue this. I'll come back to the base map. Let's also add, so that's about the legend. Let me also show you the advanced control toolbox of it. So again, on the bottom left corner, there is again another control option showing you values versus HTML. Again, if I click on HTML, you can see I have the HTML code behind this legend, which I can edit. For example, I can edit different colors. I can change the text. But again, don't worry about it for now. That's a little bit more advanced, so you don't want to worry about it at this level. But that's all. That feature is also available if you're comfortable with writing an HTML code. Let's also now add a pop-up box. For example, if you want to click on any port and you want to see more information about it. So if I go back to this, so if I go to the tab pop-up, I can choose a pop-up light color or a pop-up dark color. Let's go with a pop-up dark. And so, for example, if I click on each port, I can see some more information. For example, I want to see the port name. So let me do port name here. I can also see the hardware type. So let's also say, put a better title for it, hardware type. I can also see the tide range. If I want to see the tide, if you want to also show the tide range. And the color already represents the hardware, the port size, right? So you don't need to worry about that probably. But if you want to show it, you can also select this. So look, now we've also added a pop-up box. So if you can click on each map, on each port, you can see the name. Let's actually go to some areas around Sydney. There many of us are from. So it's probably Port Botany, right? Yes, Botany Bay port. The type of the port is CN. I don't know what that is, and the tide range is 4. And I'm not sure what the unit is. I can choose a different style. It's either a different color for the pop-up box. I mean, it's just for fancy thing. Depending on the base map color, you can choose different things. And again, just like the legend, you can also change the HTML code behind the pop-up box. But again, that's a little bit more advanced if you want to change the code. So let's stick to the values for now. So that's how you add a pop-up box, and you can create, you can show more information. You can let the user see more information from your data set. So let's go back to the PDF. So we saw the pop-up box. We talked about the HTML. Let's now try to add some widgets. What is a widget? I mean, that's more about some adding. So you see, if you go into the tab data, you can add some widgets. It's kind of an analysis. Like, for example, I mean, it doesn't make sense to show some information about latitude, longitude. Like it basically shows you the distribution of the numbers that you see in the map, in the entire map. So for example, if I add a widget about the tide range, okay? Let me see if I can edit this. Yes, yes, it's tide range. So here, I chose to show the tide range distribution here. And again, it's not really the best. I mean, we don't really need a widget in this map because we're not really showing something that has a high, like a very interesting distribution to view. It may be tide range, yes, it could be interesting to see the distribution. But again, here we can see the distribution is many of the ports, actually the majority of the ports have the tide range between, let's actually see, between 0 and 9, and very few of them have more than 9. I think we could be able to change the binnings and the categorization and classes here. But again, as I said, we probably don't really need this for this specific map. But look, the interesting thing about the widget is you can do some very interesting filtering. So look here what I did. If I put like a boundary in this distribution and I say, I want to only see the map, I want to only see the ports that have a tide range between 0 and 9. I see this. If I choose the maximum being 90 and the minimum being more than 10, look, the majority of the ports now disappear, and I only see the ports that have a tide range between this 9 and 90. Okay? So this is how the widget is actually being used. Not only it shows you the distribution, but it also allows you to filter which ports do you want to see depending on the tide range. So that's how and again, if you click on clear, it shows you everything that you initially we were choosing to show. So that's about widget. Again, the rest of the columns, as I said, doesn't really make sense to show a widget about latitude, longitude, or, I mean, we could show, I mean, not even harbor size or harbor type. I mean, it shows you a distribution. So it's more about some numeric values. So let's get back to the PDF. So we talked about widgets. We only have about 4 minutes, so I want to go quickly. And I mean, I can stay longer if you guys have time. There's no problem for me staying longer. So analyzing the data. Let's do this analyzing the data. That's a very interesting thing to do, and I want to definitely show you this. So there is a tab on analysis as well. But before I do that, let's go to the. So if I go back to the, so this was where I was like, if I click on this back, and if I come to where I was seeing the initial layers. Was it Michael? Christopher, Chris was actually asking about how we can change the base map. So you see here there is an option called base map. It was in the section where you were seeing the layers. If you click on the base map, you can actually choose different base map. You can choose a fancy base map like this. It's more of a painting type maps. I mean, I'm not really a fan of this because, again, it depends what you want to show, right? You can choose, go back to the CARTO one, you can choose a dark base map. You can choose, I mean, there are many different options that you can explore, okay? So I leave this to you to explore. This is easy to explore. I want to spend time on showing you the analysis. So I'm happy with the default base map here. But let me go to the analysis. I go back to the layer that I was looking at. I go to the analysis. Let's add, and this is a very powerful tool in CARTO, okay? So this is very interesting for the scientists and researchers. So if I click a new analysis, I have multiple options to choose from. Some of them are very interesting, okay? Again, I leave this to you to explore later. But what I want to do now, I want to do some clusterings. So if I go to, I can create and clean some dots. I analyze and predict. I can transform the points into polygons. There's so many things can be done in this analysis tool. But let's choose this calculate cluster of points. I want to do some clustering on the points that I had. So why do you want to do clustering? Again, it doesn't really make sense to do much clustering in this map because we're showing ports, right? What kind of clusterings do we really need here? But one interesting clustering would be, I want to see geographically whether ports cleared, whether all these ports around the world create some groups, some self-organized or self-formed clusters. For example, maybe by I don't know, probably ports in each continent could be in a cluster, right? So and the clustering here is a very basic clustering algorithm. It's a k-means clustering algorithm. Again, for those of you who are familiar, k-means is one of the very basic fundamental clustering algorithms that you need to specify how many clusters you actually have, and then it tries to allocate points to those different clusters automatically. To those, let's say, for example, if I say 5 clusters, it automatically tries to detect which ports or which points in your data belongs to the cluster. So let's go with the create cluster. If you click on more info, you'd be able to see more information about how that clustering works. But again, I leave that to you to explore. But let's choose this calculate cluster of points. I click on add analysis, right? And let's see what I can do here. So I can change some of the things here I want. I want to have 5 clusters. So I can, again, as I said, it's a k-means clustering algorithm. So you have to specify how many clusters do we have. For some clustering jobs, we may not necessarily know how many clusters do we have. So it's a limited clustering. This is not the most advanced clustering algorithm. But let's say, for example, 5 clusters. And now let's apply. So let's apply and see what happens. It's still applying. Let's see. It says analyzing A1 is running. So the clustering algorithm is being run now. There you go. So let's read this. It says the clustering is done. A new column is added to your data set, which tells you cluster number. So a new column is now added, and it tells you each port belongs to which cluster that is automatically detected. But you can either press done, or you can style the map based on the cluster number, based on the clustering result. So let's do a style the map again. Again, we go back to the initial styling. And now if I choose the color, let's choose the color. I want to choose the color based on now cluster number that is added. So you see a cluster number column is added here. If I choose this cluster number, and if I choose maybe 5 buckets, I had 5 clusters, right? Let me choose a different color scheme. Maybe this one is better. Actually, no, maybe. Let me see what else I can choose that is better to show. Maybe this one. Because I don't want to use yellow because it's hard to see that yellow here, but that's okay for now. I mean, it's not really that important. But let me choose something. Let me choose one of this that is better to see. Maybe this one. Yeah. It still has some yellow. Let me also increase the size of this, and let me also choose a different stroke color so you'd be able to see the points. Yes, that's better. Again, it's not a perfect visualization here, but I just wanted you to see the ports. So you see now an automatic, again, not a good choice of color. Let me go with this one. Yes, this is better now. Excellent. So you can see an automatic clustering is done, and a very interesting pattern emerges that you can see the Asia and Oceania ports are automatically categorized in a single cluster. Europe, Middle East, and Africa is one cluster. North America, Caribbean Sea, East Coast is one cluster. West Coast is one cluster, and I think Latin America is another cluster. It should be a different color. We had 5 clusters, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, this blue, this color should be a slightly different. So it automatically detects 5. I mean, we specified the 5 clusters, the number of clusters, but it automatically detects which ports belong to the same cluster. And you can see a geographic pattern emerges out of this interesting clustering. Anyways, I just wanted to show you one interesting analysis that you can do on your map. But let's go back to the style and also show the point size by tide range. Yes, okay, cool. Let's go back to the PDF photos I wanted to show you. I talked about and now let's publish the map. Any question? Yes. So let me go back to the map, and if I click on the back, and so I see the layer, I see my analysis that calculate cluster of points. Now it's time to publish your map. Now your map could be online and anyone can see it. But before doing that, you see on the top it says private. You can either publish it privately, so you would only be able to see it. You can either make it public with a link. You can make your map public, but anyone who has a link can see it. It doesn't appear on Google search engine, for example. Or you can make it totally public. Anyone can find it online, or you can make it public with a password if you want to make it online, but give password protected maps if you want to do it. But let's do public. And I chose public here on the top, and now it's time to publish the map. I press publish, and I get to choose this public and publish again, public privacy and publish, and I have to press this publish again. Publish, yes, I want to change the privacy. Now it is published, I guess. Yes, done, it's published. You can either get the code to embed the map, so that's your map. Congratulations. If I go back to what I had before, if I go back to the publish, there you go. This is the link. So if you want to update your map, you can update it, and you can get the link to share it with your friends. And that's the link you need. And if you want to embed it in a web page, you can get this HTML code that you can embed it in any web page. So if I get this map, I copy this link, and again, if I open, for example, a new tab, and if I paste it in a new tab, there you go. We created a very nice online map showing where the ports are, categorizing them into different clusters, the size of the points. The legend is still there showing. The legend is wrong here, actually, right? Because I needed to change the legend to the clusters. I should have removed that legend or updated that legend. So make sure you update this legend if you really wanted to publish this online. But there you go. Congratulations, you made your first map, and that's as easy as it gets, right? So if I go back to the PDF. There is so congratulations, I have it here as well. There is a self-paced exercise here that you can go on your own time. Maybe after the workshop, if you have time, spend some time, do this exercise so you actually do all of this on your own instead of me doing them if you weren't be able to follow up. And the exercise that I put here is some data from Australia. But before I finish the workshop, I wanted to emphasize that visualizing is not just about creating cool maps. The most important thing in visualizing a data is about having a good research question. You need to have a question. I mean, what do you want? I mean, what is the question that you try to answer with this map? And when you have the question, then you need to ask yourself, do I have sufficient data to answer that question with a map? So if you have the answers to those questions, then you would be able to create a nice map trying to answer that question with the data that you already had. So the exercise that I put together here for you is some data from Australian Bureau of Statistics on chronic disease in Australia. And the question that I'm trying to answer is, I'm trying to answer what areas in Australia have the largest or the smallest number of people with asthma. So imagine this is my question, and I don't know the answer, honestly. And we want to see what areas in Australia have the largest or smallest number of people with asthma. So to work on this exercise, you need two kind of data sets. One is the areas with the number of people with asthma that ABS provides. You also need the geographic map where you can see the boundaries of the zones, either states, either city councils, different levels of geographic spatial aggregation level that you work with. If you're familiar with Australian categories of spatial aggregation, there is something called a statistical area level. It's a very smaller. It's smaller than a state. It's larger than a small block. And we have SA1, SA2, SA3, SA4, but here we went with SA2. So we need the table from ABS that shows you the number of people with asthma. We need these geographic boundaries, and then if we integrate these two data sets, I've done it for you. There's a link here that you can work with. It's a shapefile. You can work with that, and then you can create a map. We work on the legend, choose different colors to show, and you can also come up with some more sophisticated questions, like trying to establish a relationship between asthma and bushfire, right? Now, a more sophisticated question that we could answer is, what areas in Australia require larger asthma-related health support during bushfire season? How can I answer that question? Maybe with a map. What kind of data do I need? I need to know where people with with asthma live and where bushfires happen. So if I have a zone, if I have an area where a lot of people with asthma lives, and that area is close to a very high-risk bushfire zone, then that means that area is actually a risky area. That means they probably need a lot of support, health support. If a bushfire happens, those people with asthma, they probably need a lot of support. So anyways, you can come up with a lot of very interesting questions, and you can come up with many different ideas to create maps. So I leave this to you to work on, and hopefully it gives you some good practice to create your own map. But again, feel free to come up with many different ideas. And I think last page that I have, I'm gonna schedule now after this beginner level workshop, I'm gonna schedule an advanced level workshop about 2 weeks from now. I will advertise it again. The advanced workshop go over CSS, HTML code, so you'll be able to do some HTML coding, CSS coding on the map if you want to create some more advanced options and more advanced features on the map. I'm also thinking about doing a very interesting thing. This is an idea that came to my mind yesterday, that maybe what about a BYOD, like BYOB, right? Bring your own booze. What about bring your own data session, that you can bring your own data? I have to limit the number of people in the session because otherwise we wouldn't be able to interact and work on your data. But I think this would be really nice. A small group of people that you have something to visualize. You want to come, you want to share your ideas, you want to ask questions. And maybe I may not have all the answers, but we could talk and we could brainstorm together what would be the best option for you to visualize your map, visualize your data. So I will probably schedule something in maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now on bring your own data session, and we'll see how it goes. If you have something to visualize and you want to explore it with me or with other people in the group, we can do that. So anyways, thank you very much, everybody. I will send the link to you to the recorded lecture so you can go over it if you want to watch it again. I will email it again to the same email list that I had. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer. I can stay a little bit longer if you have any question. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions if you have. Sorry if I tried to squeeze everything in 1 hour. Sorry if I went a little bit over time, but hopefully it was good enough to give you the first exposure to web-based mapping.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Professor Maid Saberi.
Yes.
And this was a very excellent explanation given by you. So thank you for that.
Sure. Thanks. You're welcome.
I just have 3 questions.
Yes.
Maybe I can shoot all the questions together and then you can answer one by one according to your comfortability.
Sure.
Okay. So the first one is that the analysis part was very interesting in the sense that we can cluster the data set. It's very intuitive. But I just wanted to know if we can replace the k-means algorithm that we have used in this analysis part by any chance?
Let's actually see. Let's see whether we can change. Let's see if any other As far as I know, I think only k-means clustering is available, but let's actually give it a try. So if I go back to this clustering that I had, so if I click on this info, it should give me the more information about the, do you still see my slide? Do you still see my screen? Yes? Okay, good. So look, it says k-means clustering is only used. Let me see if any other clustering. I think it's only k-means for now. But as I said, I think in a more advanced user might be able to, maybe not. I wanted to see whether I can code my own clustering. It doesn't allow me to. It doesn't allow me to code. You see, there is no option to change between this analysis toolbox and a code. So I think it's only limited to k-means.
Okay. Yeah. So I think, but there are 3 external resources given where they can. When we can use DBS CAN in PostGIS and then something. So yeah, we'll figure that out. My second question is that, can we make the analysis time dependent in the sense that, we have the data set about time series, and then we can, create a loop-like situation, and we can develop the plots and the maps based on each of the time periods?
Yes, you mean the clustering, doing it like a time-dependent clustering? Is that what you mean?
Yes, time-dependent clustering and then visualizing it using CARTO.
Yes, I think you can. They're not in this format that we did. What I would suggest is we have to break the initial data set into 3 different layers. So you break the layer into different 3 based on the time. For example, you have time period 1, time period 2, time period 3, and then you have 3 layers, and then you apply this clustering on each layer separately. And then you have different maps. And then you should be able to, let me see, can we visualize those 3 layers? I think we should be able to animate it. In the more advanced workshop that I will schedule in a few weeks, I will talk about how we can create animated maps.
Oh, okay. That would be interesting, really.
Yep.
And the last question is that, do we get a free license version for students or something for CARTO?
I'm not sure. Let's see what other licenses CARTO has. So you see the free version is for 12 months.
Yes.
And it gives you 150 megabyte of storage. You can have 3 maps, 3 public maps, 10 data sets, and public API. That's good. I'm not sure whether does it have any student license. Let's actually see. Student license. Yeah, there is something. A student can create a free CARTO account via GitHub's student developer pack. Okay. Yes, you can create a free student account. I'm not sure what kind of what limitations the account may have, but you should be able to create that. That's good.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes.
The last one was just a comment. I have a data set from Las Vegas about the radar sensors for. So it has a multivariate, multidimensional data where I have 3 traffic parameters: speed, volume, and occupancy. And then it's for different sensors and for different time periods. So if you want, we can use that to visualize something out of it.
Yeah. Does it have a latitude, longitude? Is it the GPS of the vehicle?
Yeah, sensors do have the spatial, it's geocoded, yes.
Okay, good. Yes, I mean, but again, as I said before, the first thing that you need to come up with is what question do you want to answer with that data? Right. I mean, what is the research question that you want to answer? Depending on the question we want to answer, then we can think about what is the best visualization that we should come up with to answer that question. I mean, it's very tempting. You have I'm also tempted with that I sometimes have a very interesting data set, and I don't have a research question in my mind. I'm just trying to come up with a cool map. that's not really the best way of doing it. It should be the other way around. We have a research question, then we find the data, and then we create a map, not going the other way.
Right. So yeah, that's important. And I do have a research question, in fact.
Yes.
Maybe I'll shoot you an email with the research question and the
Sure.
data set sample.
Yes.
And then you can work out the
Sure. Shoot me an email. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
If anyone else has any question, feel free to jump in, unmute yourself. I'm more than happy to answer any other question.
Hi, I just wanted to know, like you said, regarding the exercise you're given. So, so there is two data set. One is of the information regarding the asthma prevalence in different areas. Yes. And there is another one, which is the statistical zone of Australia.
Yes.
So what is the way to integrate these? I mean, we need to integrate these two data set, yeah?
Yes, that's right. So very good question. Yes, very good. You can do that in CARTO itself, or you can do that outside CARTO. For example, if you're comfortable doing this in any GIS software, you can integrate them outside CARTO in any software you're comfortable with. But if you don't know any software outside CARTO, you can do that in CARTO. This is something I will talk I will talk about integrating different data sets in the next workshop. I mean, if you're interested, you can come next time as well. But the last link that I put together is the integrated one. That I put together these two data sets into each other. I integrated them, and then we can visualize them.
Oh, so last one is an integrated one?
Yes. The last link is the integrated one in a shapefile format.
Oh, okay, that's great. So another thing I wanted to know, like, can we use this CARTO for small scale map preparations as well, like a small administrated area of a country, like?
Of course, yeah. So look, you don't have to. Yeah, look, you can zoom in into any different. I mean, I'm zooming into Iran, where my home country is, and you can. Yes, if you have the boundaries of the regions, yes, you can do that on any smaller scale. Even look, you can zoom in into a specific city and do some mapping on a specific city. I haven't, guys, this is the first time I'm doing this series of workshops, so I have a lot of ideas. Now that you said that, there's an interesting data set from China. It has the GPS data sets of many, like taxis or something. Many people, I mean, GPS from like hundreds of people in Beijing or Shanghai, and it is possible to visualize them even at the street level. So, for example, if you go from one location to another location, it shows the GPS location of one person going from A to B, for example. Yes, so there's no limitation on the.
So we just need the particular shape file.
Yes.
So source Excel data, and we can do it. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. This could be, again, as I said, I will organize a bring your own data workshop, maybe sometime later. And this could be something, if you couldn't figure it out yourself, you can bring your own data and then we can work together.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Any other question?
Hi, Mia. I have a quick question.
Yes.
So in terms of that clustering, K-means clustering, is it possible to cluster based on other features? I think currently it is based on spatial locations, right?
Yes, actually the question was asked, but I think K-means is the default clustering algorithm in CARTO. That's what I could found online, but there seems to be some other advanced, I mean, let's see. There is, I'm not sure what is this DB scan and cluster within. It might be possible, but I think it will be very advanced. So I would say the safe bet is K-means is what is default. If you want to do more advanced, it's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to K-means, but I'm just wondering, because currently the clustering shows it's based on spatial locations. So
yes.
So, for example, if I have another column which is of course another feature, can I actually do k-means based on that feature?
I don't think so, because let's see. It defines the parameters. Let me add a new analysis and we can see. So if I do, let's see what else I have here. I have calculate cluster of points. Let's see if I have anything else. Outlier, trends, nearest, transform. So again, if I go with calculate of clusters, add analysis, no, I think the default clustering algorithm is based on the location only.
Right, cool, that's fine. Just wondering if that's the case.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Mia.
Yeah. Any other question? Okay, so if there is no more question, thank you everyone. Thank you very much for your contribution, and thank you very much for attending the workshop. Stay in touch. I'll schedule the future workshops as well, and I'll let you know, and I'll post on my Twitter and LinkedIn and whatever social media I'm on. And yeah, good luck with everything. Hopefully it was helpful. Give it a try on your own time. Go over the exercise and don't be shy in creating, exploring different data sets and maps. If you want to expert yourself, you're going to master yourself in web-based mapping. It's all about spending time and giving it a try. Only 1 hour session doesn't make you an expert in web-based visualization. I'm not an expert in the web-based visualization. I just know a little bit. But if you want to make yourself an expert, spend more time, practice, and hopefully it will help. Anyways, thank you very much. I'll also share the recorded lecture. I will send you the link. I will send you the link. Have a great day. Have a great night, depending on where you are from. So I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.